I'm Tara.
I'm Ryan.
We love Disney movies.
So we decided to watch them all, from Snow White
to Frozen 2 and beyond. Each episode will watch a different Walt Disney Animated Studios film and tell you all about it.
Did we like it? Does it hold up? Who's our favorite hero?
Or villain.
We'll give you history and fun facts about each movie.
And sometimes we'll invite our friends to watch along with us.
So put on your tiara
or your evil crown
and join us on our adventure.
This is Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries.
Hi everybody, welcome to Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries. I almost said I'm Tara. I'm Ryan.
I'm Tara.
This is Tara. We're off to a good start. We are two childless people in their 30s.
We're married.
We're married to each other.
Full disclosure.
And we have decided, we got Disney Plus a little while ago. We got it because I'm a big Star Wars fan. I want to watch The Mandalorian. And we've kind of done this thing where I feel like we keep going back and forth, and there's Disney movies you haven't seen, there's Disney movies you like that I haven't seen. And we decided we're going to go through them, and watch all of them, starting from the beginning. Chronologically.
And we're more focused on Walt Disney Animation Studios, so thinking about the animated movies, although there are a few we've added that are not in that canon, but we've added them. I think there's maybe 3 or 4.
I've got a few I'm going to spring on you today that we can vote in. One you know about, another one I realize that we can talk about later. Oh, she's got a very shocked look.
Well, because we have a list, and I already added the ones to the list.
Spontaneity is what makes these podcasts. Spontaneity, like the fact that we put all our audio equipment together moments before we started this, and it is just, and all of it fell apart, so now we're huddled around one microphone trying to get this out the door. So Tara, I would say out of the two of us, like if someone were to guess who's the bigger Disney animated fan,
I think they would say me, but I think you have better knowledge of the movies in general. Like what you'll find out about Ryan and I is I don't absorb things in the same way Ryan does. Ryan can remember quite a bit of facts about stuff, and I don't necessarily retain that information.
I think you do more than you think you do. I think it's just like, you remember that scene from Old School where like Will Ferrell blacks out and then he does the whole speech and he's like, bro, what happened? Do you remember that?
I know.
He's in a debate thing and he blacks.
This is case in point.
Okay. I think mine is more like I take a lot of pride in what I can remember in movies, and I think I think you have very specific pieces of knowledge that you don't necessarily are like, well, I know all this stuff about movies, but at the same time, we'll put on a movie. In fact, every year we watch Love Actually.
That's different.
And I feel like if you just showed me the movie, it wouldn't feel the same. Like I know at what points Tara's going to bring up what pieces of trivia about Love Actually that she recalls.
That's different though, I think, because that's a movie I've watched like the commentary and stuff for. Like as we move forward with these Disney movies, for the most part, I have seen a good amount of them, but some of them I don't remember very well, and some of them I haven't seen. So it'll be interesting to go from there, and also like what you remember as a kid, because a lot of these movies were ones I watched as a child, but haven't revisited them since I've been an adult.
And I think it's going to be interesting because looking at this list, I think what we're going to do today is go over this list. So if you want to follow along with us and watch these movies on Disney Plus, or whatever method you got, if you got those old clam shells. Yeah, if you want to break them out of the vault. Remember those clam shells?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how I used to own them all.
I wonder, and this will be something I look up, because this is kind of stuff I find interesting, if there's, like, that's memorable, like, most of the movies you get were just in those cardboard sleeves, right?
Not the Disney ones, they're in the plastic.
But that's what I'm saying, is Disney doing that so when you look at a shelf, you go, Disney movie.
But it also looks like a book when it's on the shelf.
Do you think that's
I don't know if that was like a design, we'll have to look it up. But like if you think about it, it's a wide binding, so I feel like you could put them on a shelf and like they looked good displayed. I feel like.
That's interesting. But yeah, what was I talking about that? Oh, looking at this list of everything, I feel like there is a very wide discrepancy in quality with some of the like Disney stuff is usually pretty good, but there are some low points on here.
Well, I don't think we need to go movie by movie, because you can also pull up this list on your own. You can just Google it, and if you look at Walt Disney Animation Studios, it gives you each year and the movies. We kind of wrote them down for ourselves, but we're going to start with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So that's 1937, and then it goes on from there.
I was going to search to see where it goes on from, and then I realized the answer was now.
Yes, now. It's until present. But it started out where every couple years there was something, and then you start getting into every year, and then once Pixar comes around, then you have several movies happening in the same year, but some of them don't fall under Walt Disney Animation Studios. So for the most part, I don't believe we have any Pixar stuff in here. I think we might want to talk about them at another juncture.
Man, it's evolving. It's ever moving.
Yeah,
This thing's gonna
but this
be.
is kind of it's kind of a daunting task to even talk about this list, because
Yeah.
the list is pretty long.
Well, before we go into the list, let's talk a little bit about each other, assuming that there's one or two people out there who aren't listening to this because we emailed them the link and said, "Hey, can you listen to this?" and they aren't related to us or something like that. Can you remember the first Disney movie you ever saw?
No,
Okay.
I don't have memories like that.
Okay, can you remember like an early Disney movie you saw that you liked, or what's your favorite, or?
So favorite is hard for me because it's hard for me to pick just one. I love Sleeping Beauty, but that's because I love Maleficent. Like I am team villain, #team villain all day, every day.
I learned something. I was reading the Haunted Mansion book the other day, and I didn't realize the voice of Madame Leota is the same one who does Maleficent. And also, apparently, Lady Tremaine, who is Cinderella's stepmother. I didn't realize it was
Also her voice.
Yeah, that's her voice.
So, and a lot of my memories are associated, I don't know if we want to say people's names. Is it okay to use, like, first names of people?
We're going to do first names. We're going to avoid last names.
Pretty much most of my childhood Disney memories revolve around two of my best friends who are like my family, which is Jeremy and Kelly, and their brother and sister. And we all basically grew up together. And so when I think of a lot of these Disney movies, it's hard to not think of them along with it. Like Snow White, I have a very vivid memory of Jeremy singing the song when she's by the wishing well. Like he used to try to like reenact her voice and sing it. And then like Sleeping Beauty, when they're marching in, all hail the Princess Aurora, hail to the king. It's like this whole big fanfare on the way in. Like, I have very vivid memories of us trying to, like, recreate that song in Kelly's bedroom. And then, like, I've got memory, so, like, and it goes on. Like, so it's hard for me to pick one movie. Like, I love Sleeping Beauty, but I can also remember Jeremy and I, like, barrel laughing at Aladdin. And, like, that being, like, something, like, just finding it so funny, and watching Fox and the Hound and being really sad and, like, not really prepared for what Fox and the Hound was.
I am now going to make it my purpose to make sure every episode we get you to sing just at least one or two bars from something.
But yeah, so I mean, I don't know if I answered the question, but
no,
essentially my childhood was full of Disney. It was full of the Disney sing-alongs with the bouncing ball. It was full of the Disney movies. When the movies came out and we were old enough to go to the movie theater, we saw all of them in the theaters. Like, there were very few. But when it comes to, like, isolated memories on, like, what was my first Disney movie or what do I remember connecting with, I have a harder time chronologically being like, oh, that was the first one I saw or that was the first one I remembered. I more so remember them as a cluster or as a group, or remember things that we did to reenact the movies, like when we were playing, or, you know, we'd come up with different games and things like that.
So I just had a memory that I don't think you know about that we'll have to talk about in the Snow White episode. Okay. If you can remember, remind me by saying talent show.
Okay.
And it may help you.
But yeah, and then again, all my friends knew that I loved the villains. Like, I was like the odd man out. Now I feel like it's cool to like the villains. But like when I was a kid, and there weren't a lot of girls who liked the villains. Like, for the stereotypically, like, for the most part, everyone loved the princesses. And I'm not saying, like, nobody out there liked the villains, but in my friend group, I feel like I was known as the person who liked the villains. Like, I still have a coffee mug that is Maleficent, and it says something like, black matches my mood, or so. I forget what it says, but it's from the Disney store, and it's from Jeremy and Kelly's family.
Well,
like, I got that as a gift.
It's funny because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that does that where it's like Maleficent, it says black matches my mood. But you're not like that. Like, you're a very bubbly, sweet person. It's just, I think you're also kind of like...
I just find them more interesting. I find them more interesting, and
Yeah.
I find their stories more interesting. And I feel like in general, I just gravitate.
Your choices were a villain or someone whose sole purpose in the movie for a long time was they marry a prince. Like, I think until about Belle.
I mean, no. Ariel saves Eric. Like,
no.
yes.
Oh, at the beginning.
Yeah,
okay.
she saves him at the end too. She pulls him out of the water.
We'll have to see. I remember the last time I saw it.
I hope Jeremy's not screaming if he's listening to this, but I'm pretty sure Ariel is the one doing the saving, not the other way around.
I remember when I watched The Little Mermaid recently, I went, oh, there's a point where like Ariel loses all agency and it's just Eric versus giant Ursula. But that's what this is for. There's going to be a lot of interesting like looking back through the fog of time and remembering like, did this happen?
And probably people screaming at us as they're listening to it, being like, that's not accurate.
Well, who was I talking? Oh, we were talking to our friends Paul and Janelica, who started to let their kid watch Peter Pan the other night, and then realized there's a lot of very unfortunate
racism.
Yeah, interpretations of Native Americans. So we're going to talk about that. Do things hold up nowadays? Even if it's not just like something blatant like that. Just to let everyone know, first off, we're not doing Song of the South. It's not on Disney Plus.
It's also Song of the South isn't technically a Walt Disney Animation Studios movie. No, I looked it up.
I didn't know if they just like wrote it off their list. Like,
no, it's on another list.
Like Chris Benoit.
It's on another list, but I don't think it technically... I think, don't quote me on this, listeners, but I'm pretty sure it was not on the official list.
And that's another thing to
remind... Because that's the same thing with Mary Poppins. I would say, besides Sleeping Beauty, Mary Poppins is one of my all-time favorite Disney movies. It is not a Walt Disney Animation Studios movie, but it's one that we'll include. So that's an example of one that we're going to talk about, but it isn't on the official list.
And that's another thing we want to talk about. We are lovers. We are appreciators. We are not experts.
100%.
There's a good chance that there's going to be people who flat out are just like, Aladdin! Just like yelling things and screaming Disney movies at their radio car, the dashboard, whatever.
We're going to do our best to do our research and look up stuff, and we are welcoming special guests and people on the podcast, folks, friends of ours who are even bigger Disney fans than us.
Yes.
To be on this, to kind of mix it up. But we basically, we love all things Disney and thought that this would be a really fun way to explore each movie, I think.
So I'll real quick kind of go into my background with Disney movies. I think growing up, I kind of went for a little more of the boys' adventures, like my favorite. I remember we had, not to brag, but we had Disney Channel growing up.
Oh, I only had it when it was free.
So I just remember Sword in the Stone and Robin Hood being on there. There's like that kind of, I think that was the 70s era. I watched a lot. You
weren't born in the 70s.
No, but it was those movies for some reason. Well, yeah, we got the list right here. When did it? Yeah, 73.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robin Hood was 1973.
Wow, Sword in the Stone was 10 years before that.
Earlier? Yeah, 1963.
I don't have like a... Jungle Book was another one I watched, but I feel like this era I'm pointing was about when I started, were the things I usually ended up watching.
So the era that he's pointing to is Sword in the Stone was 1963, 101 Dalmatians was 1961, which that one I was really surprised. For some reason I thought that was later. You also had the Jungle Book in there in 1967, the Aristocats, was 1970, Robin Hood was 73, which is Ryan's favorite Disney movie. And then it kind of goes on from there. So you remember watching like that chunk.
I loved Robin Hood, and I know there's implications to that, and a lot of people talk about having certain types of awakenings with those characters. I don't think I was one of them. I just like the Robin Hood, like, it was just like the good guys running around making the bad guys look silly. I think I like those type of good guys when they are like cheerful and, you know, like I like the Antonio Banderas Zorro because he's always like doing flourishes and stuff. Like I like those type of things. I'm also a villain fan as well. Probably not as team villain as Tara, but my personal favorite villain is, I believe, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
Mine is Maleficent, but I also really loved Captain Hook as a kid. Like, I used to reenact, so the Peter Pan that was Mary Martin, which I think that one has even more problems than, I don't know, I don't want to, I think I will still love it if I watch it, but I think it may have some more problems with language on how they refer to people, how they refer to Native Americans and whatnot. But I loved that Captain Hook, that character, and the Captain Hook in the animated version too. So
the one who, like, all the pirates had instruments, and he
yes, a tarantella.
Yeah, he'd have to have a tempo to come up with a plot.
Tempo. Yeah, I loved, and I would like reenact that, and like that was one I can remember like watching with my grandmother. That was one she really liked a lot. So Captain Hook is another like nostalgic villain for me that I really love.
So I think the plan right now, and what we're going to do with this, is we're going to get together. We're going to talk about what we remember about the movie, things, give a little historical access, a little historical context. Do some, give some trivia, things like that. Kind of give an idea of where this is and what we remember. We'll go off and watch the movie. You guys can go do it too, and then we'll come back in the second half of each podcast. We'll be discussing the things we liked about, talking about the villains, the princess. Even if it doesn't have those
the
things,
story in general is what is the story based off of? Since most of these Disney movies are based off of a story that already exists from somewhere else.
I think something we talked about wanting to say is, since Disney is insistent on remaking these movies in live action, typically, like, what would we want to see from a new version of this if it hasn't come around yet? Like, who would we cast, or what would we do? That sort of thing. Does it hold up now? Like we talked about, political correctness aside, but also the is there female character agency? Is it interesting? Is it something that doesn't really translate?
Well, or is it something I'm also going to find it interesting if it's so much nostalgia that it's like, well, yes. I think it holds up because it had a special place in my childhood where maybe it didn't in yours. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious about that too.
We're also talking about rating them, and we don't want to sit here and like talk about which one's better and all this and give you a ranking, but at the end of the day, it's your opinion, whatever. I don't want to be one of those things where like tastes are subjective, they're not objective. But I think we talked about this. We want to vote when we watch a movie. Are we going to release it on Platinum Edition DVD and Blu-ray? Or are we going to lock it away in the vault?
Ooh, see, I think that's going to be hard for me, but okay.
I think it's going to be easy for you on the ones you like, but there are going to be ones where you go, this one doesn't hold up.
Or there's ones like Snow White, and again, I should save this for the Snow White episode, but I don't have like a lot of nostalgia to Snow White. I don't remember it being one of my favorites growing up, but it is the first movie that was kind of a big deal for Disney. So... in this Walt Disney Animation Studios, like, it did a lot of things that then the movies that came after it, like, it kind of set a precedent in a way. So I think sometimes that's hard too, because I think you have to look at it in that context. I don't think it's going to be as easy as like yes or no. Mm-hmm. It won't be as black and white.
We're going to have to make a decision.
Okay.
And your decision will be recorded for all time.
Cool.
So everyone will know. All right, you want to look at this list and kind of read it to everybody real quick?
Oh, I didn't think we were going one by one.
I think we should do it one by one. We can just skip through it, like, just,
Okay, all right.
So, starting in 1937, we're going to start with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Then Pinocchio in 1940.
Fantasia in 1940. Those came out the same year. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Dumbo is 1941.
Bambi is 1942. And then we get into kind of the war years, where it's like World War II was happening and we were saving... people were getting drafted, but also I think there was a limit on supplies. Saludos Amigos in 1943.
And then the Three Caballeros in 1945.
Do you remember those guys at all?
No.
I that's another one I used to watch a lot. And, like, we'd sing it around my house.
I think I've seen that one, but I don't have specific memories around it.
I think they're like the same characters. These are the ones they kind of... And then, okay, so we got Make My Music in 1946.
Fun and Fancy Free in 1947.
Watched that one a lot. Melody Time in 1948. And those ones was between Saludos Amigos and Melody Time are like little... Like, they're a bunch of different vignettes, and there's maybe not like a story or whatever. But that's the ones they would divide up and put on. Do you remember DTV on Disney?
Mm-mm.
So DTV was like, they'd get a song and then they'd either show you like a clip from a music, or it'd be like, I remember they did one that was like Tutti Frutti by Little Richard.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was a lot of Donald's girlfriend Daisy, because there's that line where he's like, I'm not going to sing, but you know that line. I got a girl named Daisy.
Oh, yeah.
And then so they do a bunch of shots from cartoons and that sort of thing.
So then we go to The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, 1949. Cinderella in 1950.
And this is, I think, where we get back to the ones everyone remembers. Alice in Wonderland, 1951.
Peter Pan's 1953.
Lady and the Tramp, 1955.
Sleeping Beauty's 1959.
See, that one feels like it was in the 60s to me. I think you're right. Like, a lot of these are a lot
Well,
earlier
and
than we thought they were.
1959 is, that's right. It's the end of a decade, the beginning of a new one. So sometimes that's tough when you think about it. Yeah. But 101 Dalmatians, for me, I just thought was much later, and it's 1961. And I think once we watch these chronologically and we see the style of animation, because when I think of the Dalmatians, I'm like, oh, well, the style of animation is very similar to Sleeping Beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
the kind a little bit. So then that makes sense. But sometimes it's hard, too, because I remember watching them when I was young, and, when you watch them when you're young, you don't think about when they were first written and first came out. You feel like they're new to you.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times I'm like, oh, I just assumed that was the 1980s because I watched it in the 1980s because I was like 2 and 3 and 4 years old. So I don't know. That's a side note. But then we have The Sword in the Stone in 1963, and then we're interjecting Mary Poppins since it's one of my favorites in 1964.
I think I can't think of a single one we've added on here that people will have a big objection to.
Yeah.
We got The Jungle Book, 1967. Aristocrats,
Uh-huh.
Aristocats, 1970. And then my favorite, I probably have 2 favorites. If you remember what the other one is? It's newer.
Wreck-It Ralph?
Oh, yeah. I love Wreck-It Ralph. Robin Hood, 1973.
The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh in 1977. The Rescuers was also 1977. So I found it interesting that they did both of those in the same year.
And that's the year of Star Wars.
Oh, interesting.
Then we have The Fox and the Hound in 1981.
And then The Black Cauldron in 1985.
Now, I don't know if you have... Black Cauldron was one I remember when I was a kid I really wanted to see, and it never came out of the vault, and they never re-released it or anything. Because they were re-released. Did you ever go see any of the old ones in theaters when you were a kid? Because they would re-release them in the theaters.
I think so. I don't know.
But I just want to say, do you remember anything about the Black Cauldron?
Not really, no.
Are you bummed that I'm talking about the Black Cauldron? Do you want to move on?
Not really. I just feel like we were going to talk about the list, and now we're like specifically talking about things about each movie. So I figured we were just going down the list.
Well, this is the podcast is talking and okay. The Great Mouse Detective, 1986. Oliver and Company, 1988, and then we have another Injection. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I thought is such a milestone in animation. It needed to be brought up. It's also a little more adult, so put your kiddies away for that one, guys.
That one's also 1988.
Yes.
Then The Little Mermaid, 1989, and that starts kind of what they call the Renaissance, right? For Disney is The Little Mermaid. So The Little Mermaid's 1989, and then The Rescuers Down Under is 1990. And then we're interjecting another one for 1990, which is...
DuckTales, the movie, Treasure of the Lost Lamp.
Which I'm really excited about, and we also watched that during my bachelorette party one night when we were getting ready.
I watched that movie, countless times. I can't tell you anything about it.
Really? Oh, I love that.
Other than there was a bad guy who kept shoving treasure in his pants. That's all I remember.
Well, it's a good one.
Is that right?
I think so.
See? Okay.
Then 1991, we have Beauty and the Beast. 1992 is Aladdin. 1994 is The Lion King.
And then I think that's the Renaissance is Mermaid, all those.
Is Pocahontas.
I want to talk a little bit about these. So just 1995 is Pocahontas, and we have another interjection of a Goofy movie, which I have never seen.
And I remembered loving as a child, so I'm excited for that one.
I think 1995, because I haven't seen Pocahontas either.
You have not seen Pocahontas?
I have not seen Pocahontas. Okay. I think we're getting to the point, it was a time, because I started watching Hunchback, I think 96 or 97, I was dating somebody who wanted to see Disney movies. So
Hunchback is 1996.
Yes, we got 96 is Hunchback, 97 is Hercules, 98 is Mulan.
Tarzan is 1999.
Which, I don't know if that's on Disney+. Wasn't that the weird one that's got some weird rights?
I don't know, we'll have to look, but we'll find it somewhere. Fantasia 2000, the year 2000. Dinosaur I never saw. That was 2000.
It was the weird one where they like had real. They were running around like real backdrops or something. There's some weird CG stuff with that, but.
And Emperor's New Groove is also 2000. So it's interesting they had 3 movies in the year 2000 under Walt Disney Animation Studios.
Atlantis: The Lost Empire is another one I haven't seen.
2001.
Lilo and Stitch is 2002, along with Treasure Planet 2002, which you have not seen.
I think I have seen it, but I switch it with Atlantis in my brain. So it'll be curious. I think I've seen both of them, and I just switched the storylines. Brother Bear I have not seen. That's 2003.
And now we're coming up on a run that I am not excited for.
I haven't seen these next several.
Neither did most of America.
Home on the Range is 2004. I have not seen. Have you seen that one?
No.
Chicken Little 2005.
Let's see. Meet the Robinsons 2007. Bolt 2008.
I haven't seen either one of those.
Do you know what those are about, or are you just like, I've heard?
No, well, Bolt has a dog. I know that. And Meet the Robinsons is a family. But I'd rather, like, not know anything at this point if I've gone this long not knowing.
The Princess and the Frog, which we recently watched. And that's another villain I really like.
I actually really liked it a lot, and I had not seen it. So this chunk, for whatever reason, I just did not see. So that was 2009 for Princess and the Frog.
Tangled. Now, Tangled is one that I'm always told we should see, and this is when we're starting to get into the kind of the re-Renaissance, but it's like computer animation. They're moving into that.
And that's 2010.
Yeah.
And then Winnie the Pooh in 2011.
Wreck-It Ralph, which is, while I can objectively say I don't think it's the best Disney movie, I think it's one where they went, let's make one specifically for Ryan.
Yeah, and it's 2012, and now we're in the years that we were dating. So we saw Wreck-It Ralph together. We saw Frozen together in 2013.
We saw Big Hero 6.
In 2014. Zootopia we saw as well in 2016. Moana we just recently saw. I saw maybe, I think, 6 months ago, and you saw it a month ago. And also 2016, Moana and Zootopia, same year. Ralph Breaks the Internet, even though we loved Wreck-It Ralph, we actually never got around to seeing Ralph Breaks the Internet. So that was 2018. And then Frozen 2 we did see in the theater, which was last year.
I forgot to do my 2 interjections that aren't on our list. So one... What was that?
Because we didn't talk about it ahead of time.
I hope the microphone picked up your your sassy lunch lady.
Please tell me what they are.
2007, I think we should do Enchanted. We talked about that, I think.
Okay. I love Enchanted. Yes. Okay.
There's a part of it is because there's so much connecting to old Walt Disney.
Yes.
There's all all the princesses are in the movie. Like Ariel plays the secretary and stuff like that. There's the beginning part that's animated. I think it really fits within what we're doing.
And then what's the other one?
Mary Poppins Returns.
Oh, I still have not seen Mary Poppins Returns.
Right.
I have a hard stand because I love the original so much. So
I think we should give it a try.
Okay.
I think watching, I think there's hand animation in it, which they haven't done in so long, so it's good to see that.
Yeah. All right.
Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with
that.
Are
you good with this list?
So that's the list.
That's the list.
Our babbling list.
How do you feel about that? You feel good?
I do feel good, yeah.
Well,
I'm ready to watch Snow White.
Yeah. So we're gonna go watch Snow White.
Thanks for listening to Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries.
If you want to tell us your favorite Disney villain and why it's guest on, send us an email at trprincessdiaries@gmail.com.
Or you can send a tweet about how great Maleficent is to @TRPDiaries.
Check out our Facebook group by searching for Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries.
Tara and Ryan's Princess Diaries are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Overcast, and many more.
Wherever you hear us, please be our knight in shining armor and give us a 5-star review.
Thanks again, and until next time, remember to always live happily ever after.